We've compiled a video dealing with P25 radio systems, and that includes upgrades or implementation of the system itself. Now, some of the people that we're going to be speaking in this video will be first responders, there will be some politicians, there will be some IT directors, and they'll give their ideas of what they've done and the good and the bad and the ugly, basically, of implementing a P25 radio system. The purpose of the P25 system that APCO put out was to get interoperability. It was also to open up the market for several vendors, because currently, right now, there are 16 vendors that deal with the infrastructure system, and there are 17 vendors that deal with the subscriber units themselves. Before, everybody thought that there was only one or two in each category, so P25 has allowed that complete open market to occur.
I just had a community crime watch meeting. Most of the individuals I spoke to thought that when they called 911 that we all the public safety services, ambulatory, fire, police, volunteer, we already had some magic radio that spoke to one another because they don't know the system. Communication is a key to this, and it starts at dispatch. When you call in, that has to be referred to a dispatcher, public safety dispatcher, who then dispatches that complaint or call, that emergency call, to fire or police. So P25, that's basically where the industry's going. It's a coined term for a type of radio. The interoperability, it has to be there. As a police chief, it means everything to me. For my safety, for my officer safety, men and women, but including the public I serve. Under Title 36, Indiana state law says there's a safety board. That's who I respond to, who I meet with monthly over department issues, things involving the community and the public.
The whole purpose of the P25 is the open source standard, which allows for interoperability between different organizations that follow the P25 protocol. So it's of great importance. No organization wants to live in a box. Every organization, especially nowadays, we have a need to be able to communicate with each other. That's what the P25 standard ensures, is that agencies without borders can continue to talk to each other. The public safety environment is fairly fluid. You could have an incident in the northern part of a county that could border another county, and all of a sudden you could have a police shooting, some sort of a hostage situation, active shooter, where you're going to have resources flooding to an area at any point in time. And the most crucial thing in those type of situations are for these agencies to be able to communicate with each other. It's essentially a profound need for public safety to have interoperability between agencies. What we had decided and discussed and basically outlined was we wanted to put together a CAD system that was a complete package. Had law enforcement records, fire records, EMS records, all of the billing modules that would go along with those prospective systems. And then we wanted the county to actually house that, and then we wanted to offer that out to the other agencies. The next phase was dispatch communications. That's where we decided we had needed some help, so we engaged Pyramid Consulting, had them kind of take the lead and oversee what we were going to be doing with our consolidation efforts and trying to integrate the city dispatch with county dispatch.
As far as the RF signal goes, we wanted to make sure that we had enough radio signal strength in buildings throughout our biggest and busiest cities, knowing that if you were going to be below grade in a basement as a firefighter and stuff like that, you know, if you got into trouble or had to mayday call, you knew the radio signal was going to get out to the outside and have that message conveyed to the other people. I think we went through 11 versions now on fleet mapping just to make sure everything is right. Regardless of what agency you're with, whether you're with the Sheriff's Department or a small town police agency or a paid fire department or a volunteer fire department, that we wanted to make sure if we had to give an excess radio or someone breaks a radio, that they knew how to operate it, and how the functionality of the radio was very simple.
Infrastructure starts from the dispatcher themselves, that telecommunicator that picks up that line and says, 911, what is your emergency? That's where the infrastructure starts. From that console system within a central location, they broadcast out to one or multiple sites, and those sites then actually propagate out to the individual users, being fire, police, EMS, or EMA.
Interoperability is being able to talk across agencies. Towers equal coverage, in my view. For a police officer or for a firefighter, losing that signal is life-threatening. If I can't talk to the dispatcher or if they can't talk to me, that could very well mean that somebody's life is in jeopardy. And so having enough towers, having correct placement, and being able to get the signal, if the signal can't get to us and we can't communicate, then we could be in a lot of trouble.
FAA and FCC permits is quite a process. If you're building a tower and it's going to be more than 200 feet tall, you're going to have to get some type of FAA approval. And if it's not, then you're not really necessarily going to have to be in the FAA approval, but you're still, if you're going to build a communication tower, you're going to have to get an FCC permit and the FCC approval. And the process is quite lengthy. I mean, there's public notice. You have to get your local government planning, zoning people. In Indiana, you have to go through the local Department of, or your Indiana Department of Natural Resources. You have to do state historic preservation. And then you have to do Fish and Wildlife. You have to make sure they're involved. The longest step that we had was for cultural issues, to make sure that you're not going to disturb or have any effect of anything that would be considered culturally sensitive. Once you get all the approvals, then you can move forward and finally get the magic thing, which is the FCC permit, and then you can start putting a tower in the air.
What P25 is really focused on is interoperability. You can have a situation where you have somebody operating in what's called a VHF frequency, and somebody in a UHF frequency, and somebody in a 700 or 800 megahertz frequency. The problem is they won't be able to talk to each other. P25 addresses that issue. If you put in an infrastructure of vendor A, it doesn't mean you need to use radios like walkie-talkies, portables, mobiles, any of those items that are also at vendor A. They could be vendor B, vendor C, or vendor D. And P25 has allowed that to occur because they've all gotten together as an industry and made sure that there was interoperability capability.